Hello, friends, and welcome back to the new episode of r/IDontWorkHereLady. Today we have 4 more great stories waiting for us, so sit comfortably and let's get started. Our first story. Apologize to your aunt and that boy immediately. Hi again. This isn't word for word. It happened a while ago, and I don't feel like dealing with autocorrect, so I acted like there were 0 profanities used. A little background. I'm not white nor American, and my culture is very concentrated on respect, especially in family hierarchy. So I'm in a smallish appliance store, wanting a pair of headphones. I start looking around for an employee who can get some keys. I see my niece, who's 2 or 3 years younger than me. To be technical, she's my first cousin once removed, one of my cousin's daughters. Either way, lower than me in the hierarchy, in the store who I catch eyes with. I hadn't seen her for years. I could have gone to say hi, but wanted the headphones first. But I shoot her a smile, a small wave, then continue my search for an employee. I also see her parents, but they don't see me, and I don't try to say hi. I find an employee, flag them down, and they come to me and ask what I want. I tell them, and before the employee can do anything further, my little brat of a niece calls across the store, "Hey, you two shouldn't be chatting while you're working. You should be helping your customers." Honestly, I'm a little shocked that she's looking directly at me, and then I'm a little pissed, because A, our culture, and B, I don't work here. "Ma'am, she doesn't work here," the poor employee says. My cousin, her mom, turns around, probably wanting to know what was going on. "Then how come she smiled at me when I walked in, huh?" my bratty niece asks, sounding smug. "I don't work here," I start to tell her. But I'm cut off by her mom, also known as my cousin. Brat's name, "You will apologize to your auntie and that boy immediately." But now, everyone who is in the store is definitely watching. My brat niece is bright red, and she's almost ready to cry. She apologizes, then my cousin yells at her to go to the car, and she pretty much runs out. My cousin then apologizes to us both, a whole lot more sincerely than her daughter, and insists that she buy my headphones, which I tell her isn't necessary because they're about $150. She deadass gives me over $700 in cash, saying it was going to be for her daughter's laptop, and then leaving. I hope that such a lesson will be useful for a child and won't lead to a new story in the pro-revenge. And our next story. My wholesome magic time machine experience. If you've never been to Magic Time Machine, a strangely themed restaurant filled to the brim with wacky decor and odd-looking waitstaff, you're missing out. One of the main draws of this restaurant is their waitstaff is always donning the characters of popular and sometimes obscure media. I've seen everything from Spider-Gwen to Jack Sparrow to Doc Brown. The staff looks and acts like their character, making for a very strange but entertaining experience. One of the cool features of this restaurant is that everyone is given an autograph book, and they can ask the staff to sign it for them. Just adds to the experience. Now, my story starts on my girlfriend at the time's birthday. This restaurant was her current favorite place, and that's where she wanted to eat. I know what you're thinking. It's a restaurant where everyone's in costume. How could someone confuse you for staff? The answer is, I'm a punk. We're talking the whole shebang. Green hair, spike and patch-covered jacket, ripped-up jeans, combat boots, piercing. I look as edgy as a 14-year-old who discovered scene music, and I love it. This current day, I was wearing my favorite pair of bright red, ripped-up skinny jeans, combat boots, and my dark gray battle jacket. As I was accompanying my partner to the salad bar, I heard a little voice from behind say, "Mommy, who's that?" To which the mother replied, "I don't know, you should go ask him." Needless to say, there was a small tug on my battle jacket and a little girl holding an autograph book looking up at me. In a sheepish voice, she asked what character I was and if I'd sign her book. So I did what every slightly narcissistic punk rocker would do. I knelt down, took her pen, and signed her book, and told her I was a character from the future that nobody knew yet, and one day she'd find out. The child smiled and ran up to her mother with the book, and when my girlfriend handed me my plate of salad, I could see it sink into the mother's eyes what had just occurred. I could see the shock in her eyes, and I quietly mouthed, "It's okay," and smiled at her. I enjoyed the rest of my night getting absolutely roasted by my girlfriend and her friends, but I felt pretty dang cool. Such a good response. And our third story. Kroger is not owned by Walmart. Background: I used to work at Kroger, which is essentially like a fancy version of Walmart. Sometimes I shop at Kroger because I get a really good discount for being an employee, but typically it's expensive, so I don't usually go there. I go to Walmart. Cast is old man, me, and deli clerk. Story time. So one night I finished my shift at the Kroger deli and actually got out on time because we were decently staffed for once. My uniform was a dark blue shirt with our logo, khakis, and a boar's head apron. Our main product was boar's head. Rather than spend over $50 on the few things I needed, I decided to go a mile up the road to Walmart. I didn't even take off my apron because I just didn't give a damn. So I walk into Walmart, still in my uniform, and grab a cart. I was browsing by the bakery because I have an enormous sweet tooth, and I like to buy little cakes and such. As I'm stopped to look at cake, an older man, middle-aged, stopped by me and aggressively tried to take my cart. I was shocked and tried to yank it back. "I'm using this cart, sir." "You're an employee. You don't need a cart anyways." I'm not an employee, though. I'm a customer like you, and I'm using this cart. Please get your own." "Stop lying. You work here. You're dressed just like the other employees." I was quite fed up with him by this point, so I pointed directly at my name tag, which has a Kroger logo on it. "What does this say?" "Kroger?" "Yeah, and are we in Kroger right now?" "Walmart owns Kroger. You're probably just really a Walmart employee. Now give me this cart. You're working." I started laughing hysterically. Walmart does not own Kroger. They're a competitor. Now let go and leave me alone. "How rude. I'll have you fired for this. Get me the manager." So I kept on walking, but he blocked my way and motioned for one of the deli clerks nearby to come over. "Can I help you? Is something wrong?" "Yes, this employee was being rude and disrespectful. I want the manager now." "Sir, she doesn't work here. She works for Kroger. This isn't Kroger." Clearly upset that no one will take his bullcrap, he stormed off. I continued my shopping without incident, but I did see him by the front screaming at a manager and pointing at me. The manager was just shaking her head and making eye contact with me as I walked by. And our next story. Crazy old man tries to chase me off, but gets arrested instead. Not sure if this is the right place for this or not. Here we go. So a little backstory. I'm now 30, but have been metal detecting as a hobby for 20 years and have found some amazing items laying in the dirt. So on to the story. The cast is Crazy Neighbor, Awesome Neighbor, Cop, and me. So my family and I had just recently moved into this small neighborhood in Oklahoma City. Anytime I move anywhere, I always have to pull out my trusty metal detector and do some therapeutic digging. I'd seen my neighbor lady and asked her if I could dig in her yard the following day since I was off work. "Hey, awesome neighbor, I was wondering if I could do some metal detecting in your yard. I can even show you any items I dig up." "Sure. I've always wondered what was in my yard. My dad used to do that, but he died before he had the chance. I'm working tomorrow, but you have my permission to dig as long as you fill in your holes." "No problem. And I'm sorry about your father." "It's okay. It's nice to meet our new neighbors anyway." So the next day after getting up, I went next door and laid my coil to the soil and started detecting. I found several wheat pennies and silver dimes. Wheat pennies were minted from 1909 to 1958, for those who don't know. Just about this time, I was halfway done with the front yard, and I hear through my headphones, "Hey, a-hole!" It's Crazy Neighbor. I popped my head up and took off my headphones to see if someone was talking to me. "I'm sorry. Who are you, and why are you yelling at me like that?" "If you don't get off that property, I'm calling the police. You're trespassing and destroying her property, you piece of crap." I'm sorry, but first of all, I have permission to be here. You don't have any right to scream at me. You need something, all you have to do is ask." The Crazy Neighbor started screaming at me in Awesome Neighbor's yard, yelling that he was gonna beat my butt. "You step any further and I'll exercise my right to defend myself," I tell him. "I'm calling the police. You're going to get arrested." "That's fine. Go ahead. I'll keep digging and I'll let the cops know you threatened to hit me." So they head back to their house, and about 10 minutes later, 2 cop cars pull up. "Excuse me, we got a call from a neighbor that you're trespassing on private property." "No, sir. I'm sorry you had to waste your time for this. I did get permission from my neighbor here to metal detect her yard yesterday." The Crazy Neighbor came outside and started cussing at me and threatened to beat me without even asking if I had permission. Even after I told him I had permission, he still threatened me. Is it that neighbor?" pointing across the street. Yes, it was. I figured. He's a troublemaker. We get several calls from him quite often. Normally, we just tell people to pay no mind to him. If he causes any more trouble, just call us. Crazy neighbor then hollers out, "Why aren't you going to arrest him? He's trespassing." The police officer says, "We already talked to the neighbor and she gave him her permission. So there's no crime committed here." At this time, crazy neighbor started cussing up a storm, and as such, the police officer finally had enough and had him arrested for disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, threatening physical harm to someone, and making a false police report. After taking my statement, they left with CN in tow. Didn't see him again outside of his home. I also found a 1940s Cub Scout pin that had turned out to be AN's father's when he was a kid. She cried and thanked me after I put it into a frame with a picture of the old 1940s Cub Scouts of America logo. That was a wonderful thing to do for your neighbor. Thank you to everyone who watched the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.